Welcome, everyone, to the L7C podcast NBA playoff edition. That is right. We are back for the NBA playoffs. It is that time of year, and we have our NBA basketball aficionado, Mr. Evan Debo, with us. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, Martin. How are you?
Man, it's playoff basketball. It felt like it just came out of nowhere, but we're here in April. The playoffs are already underway with the play-in games, and as our time of recording, we have 2 more play-in games to go before the official playoffs start with a homegrown team. And let's just start with them, the Cleveland Cavaliers, which you are going to the game tomorrow.
I will be at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, win or go home. So for those of you unfamiliar with the play-in format, again, and it's a little wonky, I do admit that. So the teams that finish in the regular season, 7 through 10, will play for the right to have reseed as a 7 or an 8. So the 7th and 8th seed, as it finishes in the regular season, will play off. Winner gets the 7 seed. Loser plays the winner of the 9-10 game. They will play in a consolidation game of sorts, and then the winner of that game is the 8th seed, and then you have your traditional 1-8, 2-7, 3-6, 4-5 matchup. So we've got a number of games start. Obviously, it was an uphill battle. I think everybody knew that. If we start off with, yes, exactly, our beautiful Cleveland Cavaliers. They lost to Brooklyn on Tuesday night by a final of 115-108. Just unbelievable effort by the Cavs to get it within 6, late. But, I mean, Brooklyn just came out and laid the Godsmack on them, 40-20 in the first quarter. Kyrie Irving spilling in the second quarter. I think he was a perfect 9 for 9 to start the game. Kevin Durant had a high efficiency assist game, and they just ran with it from there. So general thoughts. So let's looking at the Nets real quick. So Durant finished with 25 points, 11 assists, 5 boards. Kyrie finished with 34 points, 12 assists, and some really, really, really big minutes from Andre Drummond and Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown is going to be, I think, a guy who's going to be a huge problem for defenses going into the playoffs as people scheme for Brooklyn. Think it's just really 2 guys. He was anything from, playing that zone buster role at the foul line, like we see Draymond Green do all the time, to he was, in that dunker spot. So as, the defense would collapse in on the driving Irving or Durant, they just drop it off to him in the dunker spot, and then he'd either, find another rolling big, or big is a relative term in Brooklyn, right? Because, I mean, outside of Drummond, they don't have a whole lot. Or he just, put it up himself. So he had 18 points, 9 boards, 8 assists, very Draymond-like game. He was huge for them. So on the Cavs side of things, outside of our guy DG the PG, Darius Garland, 34 points, 5 assists, and Evan Mobley, huge game, 19 points, 7 rebounds. There are a lot of folks that, helped their cause late, but were just absolute nothing sandwiches. At one point, JB Biggerstaff had pulled starting shooting guard Isaac Okoro and gave his minutes to Rajon Rondo, who had 9 big assists off the bench, played 26 minutes. Lamar Stevens only played 7 minutes. That was a little surprising with as much as he's come on lately. But 0 points, 1 assist, 1 rebound, and 13 minutes for Isaac Okoro. So that's obviously not going to get it done. Markkanen and LeVert finished with 12 and 13 respectively. And I don't have the field goal attempt and field goal shooting in front of me right now, but it was bad, Martin. So what were your thoughts on this game?
I think my biggest thoughts on this game is, man, the injury gods really hurt the Cavs, because I think last time of recording, we were a top 3 or 4 seed in the East when most of our players were healthy.
A game back of the number 1 seed at the All-Star break. And forgot to mention, no Jared Allen again, missing yet another game.
Yeah, because I think if we have Jared Allen, or obviously if we had like Colin Sexton, things like that, I think we beat Brooklyn that night. I really do. But it is what it is at that point. Kyrie, like you already said, he was phenomenal first half, and they have Kevin Durant and we do not. Luckily for us being the 8th seed, we still get one more shot, and we're going to be going up against Atlanta because I'm not gonna lie, that first quarter, I was like, oh, this game is looking like it might be over real quick. But the Cavs showed the resiliency they've shown all year and fought back, like you said, and cut it to single digits. But as I was saying, at least the resiliency, we get to host this playoff game against Atlanta, who beat down Charlotte pretty badly, and you're going to be in attendance. I think the crowd's going to be rocking, and
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. On Atlanta's side, that was the team I was, hoping somehow would lose to Charlotte. We had really good matchups with Charlotte, but they just absolutely took care of business against the Hawks did against Charlotte the other night. Just big games from Trae Young did his. DeAndre Hunter, that's a guy the Cavs have to watch. And we'll, from what we're looking for, standpoint, again, they spread the wealth, Atlanta. And that's one thing that scares me with the Cavs because, as much as, the Cavs really did a good defensive number, I felt on Brooklyn for the most part outside the first quarter. But, again, you can't, the amount of guys who can just go off and just start popping threes, Bogdanovich, Kevin Huerter, Trae Young, DeAndre Hunter, Gallinari, Mobley battling in the post with Clint Capella tomorrow night. That's a huge concern. Mobley's really struggled with big physical post players. And Clint Capella absolutely is that on the boards. He had 17 rebounds last night. So that's of concern. I think, again, the Cavs' MO here is, I think first and foremost is at the time recording this podcast, it's 7 p.m. Eastern time. The day before Cavs Hawks for winner goes on to the playoffs to face Miami, loser goes home for the summer and into the fall for the end of their season. Again, they as of 7:07 p.m. Jared Allen's been upgraded to questionable now. I think everybody thought that, hey, if the chips were down and he had to play, he'd come out, one-handed or whatever. And it's a really bad sprain that obviously is going to have splice and stuff. A lot of people have been clamoring like, hey man, like you can hold your own in the post kind of thing, but he's been ramping up the workouts. That's step one for the Cavs is get Jared Allen back in any capacity. It's going to help. And again, winner goes home kind of thing. So, that's the big thing there. They're going to need the role players at home to come out and score. Isaac Okoro can't have a nothing sandwich and score 0 points. He's going to have to hit some of those corner threes, and that's where he's done his damage when he's been on. He's hit them, and when he's been bad, he was as bad as he was the other night. Kevin Love's going to have to come out and help too. Again, Atlanta just has so many guys that can just spread the wealth in terms of points around the arc that. The Cavs are going to have to score a little bit in this game, even if they hold the Hawks in check to an extent. Scored 132 points on Charlotte, which is obviously just a bad defensive team, but Atlanta's a bad defensive team in itself. So, Martin, what keys to victory do you see coming down the pipe for all things tomorrow night? Obviously, Darius is going to have to probably have 25 plus 8 plus assists at minimum. Those kinds of things. What do you see?
Besides the things you already mentioned, like external things, the crowd, I was just thinking to myself, outside of let's say the Cavs finals that the Cavs are going to LeBron, this is one of the biggest games in Cavs history in recent memory, especially if you exclude the LeBron years and all of that. This is no LeBron, no Mark Price era in the 90s. This is a Cavs team. Young players have a chance to get in the playoffs. No one besides this podcast and some local Ohio station thought the Cavs even had a shot of getting to this point. So it's one of the biggest games in history. So I really need that crowd to be full, sold out, loud. Role players always play better at home. That is just the age-old thing. So that crowd, hopefully the players that you mentioned play a lot better at home. And then on the defensive side, obviously we got to get to Trae. Trae can be very annoying, as Trae Young's the reason Ben Simmons isn't in Philadelphia anymore. So he's going to get his, but is it going to be efficient? Is he going to have a 35 and 15 assist game. I saw something that he's the only player in the top 5 or top 10 in points and assists right now. Something crazy like that. Or can we limit him to like a 9 for 27 shooting day with like 6-7 turnovers? Because if we can do that, I think the rest will follow and the Cavs will have a good shot of winning that game.
Yeah, I mean, the role players have to step up. If you're the Cavs, I mean, you despite all of the injuries, losing Sexton for the season, you losing Dean Wade for the season, losing Ricky Rubio for the season. I think statistically another thing. So through all COVID, no NBA team has had more players miss due to COVID health and safety protocols than the Cleveland Cavaliers. The punches keep rolling. And, they still made, at least a 7-8 at the end of the season to have 2 cracks at it, and they'll get their second crack at it tomorrow night. I think that's a good game plan there to have, again, let Trey get his and you try to clamp down around him. And, Trey will put in points and he'll get to the foul line and do his little, dribble in the lane and jump back into you, Chauncey Billups maneuver, and get to the foul line a bunch. But he can be really inefficient when he gets his points. So, Cavs for one can't give up second chance points. That was a huge issue against Brooklyn. And, 2 of their last 4 games they played, or 2 of their last 3 games they played were against Brooklyn was, they started to get beat up a little bit on the glass, but they need Jared Allen back. Look for Lamar Stevens and Rajon Rondo to play some more minutes, I think, than they did in the Brooklyn game, especially Lamar, as he's come on defensively for, taking on some of those big Atlanta wings. So, Martin, let's shift gears. We loosely touched base on the Hawks blowout. Unless you've got something else to add, I don't necessarily. Just an awful 29-point loss, was never close.
Nope. Let's just shift out west.
Yeah, the entire time. Let's just shift out west. So, the first of the 2 playing games we had, so the 7 seed and the 8 seed, featured the Clippers and the T-Wolves. Minnesota dispatched the Clippers 109-104. And a huge national TV coming out party for those who haven't seen him yet from Anthony Edwards. Just balled out in this game. 30 points, 5 boards. D'Angelo Russell, who's been down a little bit this year, he poured in 29. Again, and Cat with some crazy foul trouble, only 11 points himself. But I mean, the Russell and Edwards and the team, put away the Clippers. So they've secured the 7 seed. And then a big game from your boy. It wouldn't be playoff time if we're not talking Paul George. 34 points in 41 minutes, along with 7 boards, 5 assists. Norman Powell is back for them as well. So they'll have a second crack coming up. For their second playoff opportunity to get in here soon. Martin, thoughts on this game? And are you going to jump up on the podcast table after the dub?
I mean, I would have had to if the Clippers would have found a way to win the title last year if everyone stayed healthy.
Well, Pat Beverly took your spot. He jumped up on top of the scores table like it was Kobe or D Wade winning the NBA championship.
He did, and that was.
He was awesome. A little mad he didn't get a contract renewal, or be kept in Los Angeles.
Hey, I mean, good for them, good for Minnesota. I mean, they haven't been good for a very, very long time. And now they're going to be going into the playoffs. And with that core, man, I mean, we're going to get to like predictions later, but we talked about Minnesota with D'Angelo, Anthony, Karl-Anthony Towns. Like they got a small, good core there. But when they made a big deal about the celebration, Evan, I think you would remember. Do you remember the first time the Heat beat the Celtics to advance in the playoffs? When the big 3 got together and they were celebrating like they just won a championship too. And it was the same thing. Like, man, what are these guys doing? It's just like, hey, when you're in the moment, let them live.
As they say in AAU or any kind of lower level ball, act like you've been there. Guys.
Yeah, I agree. But sometimes it's just like, some people haven't been there. So, but with my favorite team, the Los Angeles Clippers, I can't even knock them. I mean, the way that they've gotten to this point without Paul George most of the season, without Kawhi, now they play the New Orleans Pelicans. in this other playing game. I do like the Clippers. I really do. I don't think Kawhi is coming back in these playoffs at all, but the Clippers, they earned my respect, especially this year. Shout out to my favorite player in my entire lifetime and in my beyond lifetime, Paul George.
Love me some Paul George. Martin, let's shift gears real quick over to the second of the two games, which took place out west, which took place last night. We saw a lively New Orleans crowd. I mean, how many times have you said that?
Not that many, but I mean, I love New Orleans, the city, so I was happy that they were out there. So
they send home San Antonio. You know, they arguably they might actually factually be the youngest team in the league. 113-103. Big performances from Brandon Ingram, 27 points, 5 boards, 5 assists. Jonas Valanciunas poured in 22, and then newly acquired CJ McCollum, 32, 7, and 6. So between those three right there, that was a huge chunk of their scoring margin, and then picking up in the points at the foul line, so to speak. Had some good good contributions from Jose Alvarado, Mr. I'm going to steal your ball, hiding. Have you seen those clips?
Yes.
Have you running in from almost like the out of bounds line, trying to sneak it up on people, and he'll get some steals. Again, Herb Jones, really solid defensive player as well too. I mean, for the Spurs, a lot of the offseason talk is going to be how much longer does Pop keep going, right? But they got a lot of folks that are up and coming. I was really impressed. That was kind of my first time, I think, really sitting down and watching the Spurs. I haven't watched them much this year, Martin, but Devin Vassell, obviously we know DeJounte Murray, what he can do. Mm-hmm. But Lonnie Walker too. I mean, both those guys, Vassell and Walker, can stroke the rock. Like I was impressed with everything from form to how they got open to, Lonnie attacking the bucket, when he came in off the bench, those kinds of things that, again, they're just a young team. Obviously, a long ways away from the Tim Duncan, Kawhi, Manu, Parker era, but again, a great feat for them to surpass the Lakers and get into this play-in, Martin.
Mm-hmm. Hey, they started going up at the right time, and obviously the Lakers that we've chronicled on these NBA podcasts, they were not good. We talked about, but I don't want to talk too much about the Lakers because they're not in the playoffs, and I want to.
They're not in the playoffs. They don't matter. We're not going to be the podcast that gives them airtime like everybody else.
Yeah, so I'm not going to talk about them, but what do you think about this? Oh, also Zion Williamson. It would have been great if he could be playing, but he can do 360 dunks in warm-ups in sweats. That's another thing. Just saying.
Martin, did you see, man? Did you see him do that?
Oh, yeah.
I just don't know. Yeah. How are you out here doing 360 dunks, dog?
Like in sweats.
And sweats not put on for your team. And Martin, he's like a defensive tackle. Mm-hmm. Like there's no way that young man has not put on another 25 pounds. There's no way. There's no way.
He is probably, I would estimate 310.
He's probably what I'm going to go on record and say might be the Jamarcus Russell of the NBA.
I would give it one more year. One more year.
I know. I just let me be the early bird in on that. Hey, can't take care of his body. Up and coming, big name, big star that just couldn't stay on the field of play.
Hey, I mean, look at the team too. Like Brandon Ingram, now you got CJ McCollum. Like they have some good young players. You add him, his explosive self. They could be, if they kept everyone together, because that's the newest thing in the world. They could be like not a title contender, but a playoff contender every year.
So Martin, let's So they advance. So they're from the 9-10 game. They advance to play the loser of 7-8, which is the Los Angeles Clippers. They'll play at Ty Lue, who somehow was dubbed like literally the Bill Belichick of basketball on the broadcast.
Yeah.
So yeah. So who do you got in this matchup? Anything stand out?
Oh, I have to be on brand. I got to take the Clippers. I have to take the guy that I ride on this podcast for good and night, get angry and yell like I'm Common Man. Shout out to 97.1 The Fan when he plays bad, and that's Paul George. I just feel like they have the better coach. This is where
No, I'm agreeing with you. They do.
Oh, I thought you thought so. Like I thought you meant like they do like question mark. I was like, nah.
No, I'm fanning the flames because you're on fire right now. I just keep going, buddy.
No, he's not the Bill. I don't know where the hell that came from, but he's not the Bill Belichick. But Ty Lue is a very good coach, and he might not be there for long because the other team in the city might try and get him. But I just feel like they're more experienced, and this is the Clippers game to win. Now, I think for New Orleans Pelicans, obviously they got CJ in Ohio, Lehigh, all that, Linda McKinley, but I just don't think they have it in them to win this game. Unless Brandon Ingram and CJ, they go off, then anything's possible. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm picking the Clippers too. I think it's a lot closer. I mean, what New Orleans showed last night, like it's a lot closer than I think for me to like make the call for sure. Like I would not be surprised if New Orleans won this game. I'm not picking them to it, but I would not be surprised just seeing again what McCollum and Ingram are able to do. Like, all it takes is the wrong person potentially to get in foul trouble, especially if they start attacking the paint. I mean, Clippers, don't have, a lot down there. It's kind of the MO last year as well too, but I'm going to pick the Clippers. I assume we're going to will the Cavs to win, and we're going to both pick the Cavs.
Yes.
Even though obviously I'm nervous as all get out. I'm excited to see that in person. I just hope Trey doesn't, throw a 50-piece status or something crazy tomorrow night. So, Martin, let's transition into. So obviously these will determine who the 8 seeds are.
Yep.
We know seeds 1 through 7. Mm-hmm. Let's do a quick run through of some matchups here. So heading into the official start of the playoffs on Saturday, we've got the Jazz at Dallas. We've got the Timberwolves at Memphis. We've got the Raptors at the 76ers. We've got the Nuggets at Golden State. So from the Saturday slate, what of those matchups, what stands out to you one way or another?
We said Golden State and Denver. Is that Saturday? Did you just say that?
Yes, it's the late game.
Golden State and Denver, because I want to know if Mr. Steph Curry is going to be playing. I know he's been upgraded. He's a game time, I think, decision on Saturday. Because I'm going to be honest, I'm going to say it right now. If Steph Curry doesn't play, the Warriors are going home. I am doing it. And I'm already going to show my hand for a later topic, but the MVP of the league, Jokic, and those guys have impressed me so much this year. I've talked about them, what they've been doing without Michael Porter, without Jamal Murray. The way they're playing, Golden State ain't beating them without Steph. So that's what I'm going to be very interested to see if Steph Curry plays. And if he doesn't, it's not going to be looking good for Golden State. What about you?
I still like Golden State in the series, even if Steph is not anywhere near Steph. Also, is it the NBA playoffs if we're not talking about is Steph Curry healthy? Like every year. They found this guy named Jordan Poole. You ever heard of Jordan Poole?
I've heard of him.
You've heard of him. Strong candidate, potentially my winner for most improved player. I mean, guys just absolutely killing it right now. So if you got him, you've got partially Draymond, you've got Klay Thompson, you got Kuminga. I mean, I like those odds. Again, I think this series goes long. But short of Denver getting their dudes back, I like Golden State. Martin, let's look at Toronto and Philadelphia. So there's going to be a big omission here, right?
Yes.
So Philly went to Toronto to play towards the end of the regular season. And, throughout the year, we'd start seeing some Woj tweets and everything else about somebody listed as inactive magically when they head to Toronto, which leads us to the obvious, which is you're not vaccinated. And obviously Toronto still has those mandates in place, can't perform in their arena. Philadelphia goes there, plays, and one absolute lockdown, stellar wing, all defensive team candidates, Matisse Thybulle, is unavailable to play for all the Toronto games. Martin, that could make this really interesting.
Yeah, and for people who haven't watched the NBA this entire season, I think Toronto snuck up on a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people expected them to be good. And here they are as the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference going against a team that was picked preseason and with the trade and all that to be a favorite in the East, the Philadelphia 76ers. And, I really wanted for drama aspect, even though they're going to be dramaful, I wanted Brooklyn to play Toronto because then obviously another person by vaccine-wise who's been the most vocal, Kyrie wouldn't be able to go to Toronto. That's what I wanted, but we didn't get that. But, man, looking at this matchup, the dude with the most pressure in this entire playoffs, obviously it's James. And it's not LeBron James because he's not in. It's James Harden. So
they don't call him Big Game James for a reason.
Well, they don't call him Big Game James for anything. But, dude, he has to perform. He has to. Like, I get on Paul George so much because of pandemic and James, he just doesn't have catchier nicknames for his playoff woes.
He is a shell of himself.
Yes.
I mean, he really is. Like, what was that final stat? That he, KD, and Kyrie played how many games together in Brooklyn? Did we ever see that coming? It was like 8 to 11, wasn't it?
It was not a lot. It was definitely
Maybe, under
25.
Floating by my aim. Oh, it was under 20 for sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I mean, he has been bad, man. I mean, Philadelphia's willed their way to some wins since acquiring him. And, again, like props to Daryl Morey, right, wrong, and different. You go from getting a nothing sandwich from pouting Ben Simmons to you at least get a capable player. James Harden, at his worst, is a capable player.
Yep.
But he is, I mean, I think we've seen the best of James Harden. At least we would see him perform in the regular season. We'd see him, go off, everything else, the high assist games, the high point games. It's going to annoy the crap out of me. I'm going to absolutely root for Toronto, I think, here, just because I hate all the free throws. You got the number 1 and number 2 guy in the league getting the foul line, just having a giant parade with the referees slinging the marching band baton, walking them down there. Like, this is going to be an interesting series. I think Philadelphia has a talent, obviously, to take care of Toronto, but you lose Thybulle, and then if guys aren't hitting shots, and Toronto snuck up on people this year.
Yes, they did.
OG, Pascal finally came on strong.
Mm-hmm.
You name it. Potentially our new leader for Rookie of the Year,
Scotty Barnes.
I was waiting on you to say it.
Yep, Scotty
because I couldn't
Barnes.
Say it because I can't say it because I still want Mobley to win, obviously. So I'm not going to spit it out of my mouth. So I'll let you help me out on that. Think please, sis. Yeah, I mean, those 3 switchable wings defensively, you name it. I mean, when you're left with, the Danny Greens of the world out in the wings, Tyrese Maxey's, if those guys go cold, this is absolutely a potential for Toronto to not only win the Toronto games, but steal 1 or 2 Philly games too. So, Martin, thoughts?
Well, I guess we do have to mention that the Philadelphia 76ers do have another person who has a right to the MVP throne this year, with Joel Embiid, first center to lead the league in scoring since Shaq. So I just feel like he's going to be just too much Embiid for Toronto. But
watch out for this series. I'm with you, but watch out for this series. It may get interesting. I'm with you.
It's going to be DEFCON 5 if Philadelphia gets bounced, though. Oh, my gosh.
Martin, for this next series on Saturday, I am absolutely still fangirling over my experience. Through a friend of a friend, ended up in season ticket holder lands, in the grindhouse in Memphis. Saw Memphis absolutely trash the defending champs without Ja Morant. This is a phenomenal team. I expect them to take care of Minnesota here, and I think they have a deep run in them. I'm not sure if it's quite good NBA Finals potential, but I would honestly not be entirely surprised if the Memphis Grizzlies are facing the Phoenix Suns in the West.
Do you? And I agree, Memphis has been phenomenal. Again, another team no one really thought was going to be the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. But matchup wise, like you have Ja, you have all those players. You got Ant-Man, Anthony. You don't think the Timberwolves kind of match up pretty well?
I don't. I mean, I first kind of the similar seeing that from earlier too, where if Cat gets in formula wise, if Cat gets in foul trouble, and Cat also does not play defense, that again, I think that's a huge hindrance to their front court, and the leader in screen assists, Steven Adams. He's a force to be reckoned with down there, getting extra chances for Melton, getting extra chances for Ja, getting extra chances for you name it. They are just a phenomenal scoring machine, the Memphis Grizzlies. And their defense too is just, absolutely clamped down. I can see them shutting off Anthony Edwards' water as good as he is. I just was so impressed. I'm rooting for him, Martin.
A lot of good things. I will say though, we're gonna have Pat Beverly on Ja Morant throughout the series. That should be very entertaining.
He's gonna get thrown out. He's gonna get thrown out.
And with Karl-Anthony Towns, with the much stuff has he done, obviously won the 3-point shootout, and we know the stuff that he's gone through. But man, you need to. This is for me. Stay out of foul trouble. And then you talk about celebration. He was hugging Jordan Woods like they just got married in front of the Pope. Let's keep her. Let's focus on the game and show them why you've said you're one of the most dominant big men now in the league. But yeah, I agree.
This is a big opportunity for Cat here. I mean, if this is like a legacy changing thing, if they were to somehow knock off the 2 seed, and he had a huge hand in it.
But I say Memphis in 5.
I say Memphis in 5 as well. Martin, last one on Saturday. Any hopes for the Jazz against a resurgent Dallas team this year?
Well,
great regular season team is always their MO.
Yes.
And I'm going to take a step further. I'm going to pick Dallas here. And I'm going to say one of Donovan Mitchell or Rudy Gobert is playing their final series in a Utah uniform.
What's the status of Luka, though? Because also that was an idiotic thing. He should not have been playing that last game.
As far as I know, no contract incentive like Drew Holiday against the Cavs. Started the game, fouled and left, and collected $300,000 or whatever he did.
Yeah, because I know he's hobbled up. Do we know if he's playing game 1?
I'd be surprised if I don't know if they've officially said yet, but I'd be surprised if he isn't.
Yeah, but I agree, man. Dallas has been, ever since they traded Porzingis, they have been on a resurgence. They're the 4th seed in the West. Don't know how many people saw that. Luka's Luka, all the pieces. Which I'm going Dallas as well. I'm going to say Dallas in 6. If they get smoked, though, like if they lose in 5 or get swept, then I'm on your train that one of them's got to go. And it's probably going to be Rudy.
I guess I got to assign some digits to this too, since you have on a couple of these series.
Mm-hmm.
We both said Memphis 5. I'm going to say Dallas in 6. I'm going to say Philly in 7.
I agree.
I'm going to say Golden State in 6.
Well, I did just say if Steph Curry doesn't play this, I was like, if something happened, if Steph Curry doesn't play this series, I don't think they'd win. But if he misses one game, I'm going to go Golden State in 7.
I'm going to upgrade my Memphis one. Memphis sweep.
Sweet.
Get out the brooms. Get out the brooms.
Oh, I don't. Oh, okay.
I'm high on the grids. Get out the brooms. They mean business.
I only see one sweep, and that's from the team in the West, who's the 1 seed, who represents us well too.
So Phoenix and the Clippers. Let's start there. Let's assume it's the Clippers.
We already said it'd be the Clippers. That's who we're picking.
That's who we were picking.
Mm-hmm.
So Clippers, or if New Orleans squeaks out, I think we're all picking the Suns.
Absolutely.
I'm going to give the Clippers the opportunity to. No, I'm not. Sweep, disregard.
I need my guy in the crowd, Phoenix in 4, because you talk about you're high on Memphis, and I am too. But these Suns, man, what they've been doing all year, but throughout the whole season, 64-18.
Sorry, there should have been. You need to put some respect on their on.
That is true.
That's name. The L7C Suns.
We were high on them. We picked them to come out west last year before the critics did. So Phoenix in 4, Devin Booker, God bless that man, should definitely be needs to get more respect in the league. Top 5 MVP in my humble opinion. And they did stuff without Chris Paul, who's 37 and is still the best pure point guard in the NBA, and it's not even close.
Led the league in assists at 37.
At 37. And Phoenix does have my defensive player of the year as well. So just
hold on. Who?
I'm telling you,
who?
Why am I blanking on my dude's name? And they have my coach of the year. I'm just giving everything to Phoenix just because I'm that type of person.
Monty Williams, coach of the year.
No, I was thinking about Mikal. I was going all the way. I was going Suns everything. If I couldn't give Devin Booker MVP, I was just going to give the Suns everything else. I'm probably not going to put Mikal, but if I was voting, I would have just said Mikal just because he's on the Suns. That's how much I like them. But now he's not going to win.
Yeah, I mean, just the amount of firepower, what we saw to them, last year. I think they're a little bit deeper this year, in some regards. I obviously, as the playoffs progress, the front court is, if they're going to have any issues, it's going to be because you've got Ayton and you have Mr. Olympian JaVale McGee. But not really else a whole lot other than that. Jalen Smith could not find the floor last year. Actually, I forgot Jalen Smith got traded to Indiana. So, yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot there. But that said, they're the best team in basketball. It's going to be a sweep.
Since you already threw it out there and I said that Rudy be the first one to go, ship him up to Phoenix. Send him up there.
I missed that. Send who up where?
Rudy, because you said Donovan or Rudy, one of them is going to be done. I said Rudy Gobert because I don't think teams get rid of guards anymore. They'll rather get rid of the bigs. And Phoenix needs some frontline people next year. Have the Suns try and get Rudy Gobert.
Well, I'm going to say it for a different reason than what I think you're getting at is the Suns miss a very important deadline with DeAndre Ayton. Did not offer him the max, did not sign it. I could see a swap.
Oh, yeah.
I could see a swap. I think DeAndre Ayton is their piece. If the Suns don't win this year, I think DeAndre Ayton is out there in trade land to potentially be moved elsewhere to get something back. So you're saying sweep there?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, L7C Suns. Let's go.
All right. So let's go to from the 1 seed in the West, the 1 seed in the East. Martin, the Miami Heats, we're hoping plays the Cleveland Cavaliers. If they don't, it'll be the Atlanta Hawks. Do either of the Hawks or Cavs stand a chance at taking a game or two?
I say I was actually going to go, or if it's Cleveland, I do think, playoffs, 2 day of rest, Jared Allen potentially coming back. I was going to say Miami in 6, man, because Miami, there are times where they were just like a clear-cut number 1 in the East, but then like near the end of the year, they just not – the way they were playing. Obviously, we talked about the Jimmy Butler, Udonis Haslem, Eric Spoelstra fiasco. Like, I just feel like they could be got for a couple of games, And so I think Atlanta but I'm going to say Cleveland because we're saying Cleveland's going to win. Could get 2 games off of them, but Miami would win this in 6.
I'm going to take Miami in 5. I still think they've got, especially if it's against, and I hope it's against the Cavs. I hope the Cavs get a taste of the playoff experience. But this Cleveland team cannot ever win in Miami. So like that really scares me. Like I definitely think if it is the Hawks, I think the Hawks could absolutely take them to 6 more than the Cavs could. But I just want the Cavs to have that playoff taste, man. Get them in. Like let's do it. Also of note, since we haven't mentioned on the pod, so if the worst happens tomorrow night and I watch the Cavs season end after being a game out from first at the All-Star break, they do get their first round pick back and they're back in the end of the lottery, Martin, from the Karis LeVert trade. So the pick doesn't convey, it's lottery protected. So they would get that. So if the Cavs lose, they get another piece. That could be Malachi Branham range. I'm just going to throw it out there. Cavs do need some more wing depth for sure, ball handling wing depth. And Malachi is a great defender as well, fitting good with the JV team and local kid from St. Vincent, St. Mary. But again, I also kind of hope we don't get him and we go into the first round and get DG and these young pups some experience there too. So I'm gonna say 5 for Miami. Let's go to a very interesting series, Martin. Brooklyn and Boston.
This might be, because of storyline purposes, this might be the first round series of the playoffs.
It is. It absolutely is. It has to be.
Man.
No Time Lord for Boston, although it's rumored he might be back towards the end.
Jesus criminy. Benjamin Simmons. Yeah, I saw something today recently that he's targeted to be back by games 4 or 6. My thing is, if it's 6, will this series be over by that game? I'm throwing that out there because it's funny how the number 7 seed is the team everyone's expecting to advance, but the number 2 seed, who we writ it off a little bit, but they wrote that ship so well. What do you see in this, Evan? Because I think this is going to go the distance potentially.
Yeah, I think this could go the distance. Boston had such a good run. Coming down the stretch, for Brooklyn, Kyrie's going to do his incense to wipe out the bad juju that he himself caused. Imagine driving your car down your neighborhood and you hit 6 cars with your car and you get cited for all of them. You got to pay all the fines. Everybody's mad at you. And then you just walk down with incense every day, like to each one of those spots where the cars were parked that you hit. Because you just got to get rid of the bad vibes, that you caused. Sorry. It's just Kyrie being Kyrie stuff. I don't know. This is a toss up. I really think it's a toss up. Just seeing what I saw out of Brooklyn, but Brooklyn is so bad defensively. I'm gonna say Celtics in 7.
Dang it. I wanted you to say Brooklyn because I was gonna take Boston in 7, but oh Jesus. Boston, Tatum, their defense, Marcus Smart, all of them.
And if you add Ben Simmons back for a couple games, I think this series goes 7. If right, wrong, and different. If Ben Simmons is trash, he's still something to be accounted for passing wise. And you go from a nothing sandwich of Goran Dragic playing some spot point to now you got Ben Simmons. Like, I don't know, man. This will be fun. I'm looking forward to this one.
I'm gonna. Benjamin doesn't play. Boston in 6. Benjamin does play. Brooklyn in 7. And I don't like that pick because I kind of want Kyrie to lose. Not gonna lie.
I like that we pick. I could see it, man. I absolutely could, and I like that. There's a little bit of skin in the game now for this pod because you and I have been alike on like all of our picks so far. So I like it. So let's move to. I'm going to say another sweep. The last series of the first round, fledgling Chicago Bulls and the defending champs, the Milwaukee Bucks. Do you see this as a sweep, Martin?
That's a good pick because Chicago has been really bad against the top teams in the league. It was a staggering, like they were over for a bit. And Milwaukee, defending champs, championship pedigree, it's real. Giannis on a mission again. I don't see this going over 5. I will give Chicago 1 game, and I will give them game 3 in Chicago.
You're going to give them game 3 in Chicago?
Game 3 in Chicago. First home game, first playoff home game for the Bulls since Joakim Noah days. So, yeah, I'm going to give them 1 game in Chicago. Game 3.
Martin, I'm just adding up some games real quick. 1, 2. In their last 22 games, the Chicago Bulls were 7-15.
I mean, it's not stellar.
They're 7 wins at Detroit versus Cleveland, Toronto, Cleveland again, the Washington Wizards, the Clippers in overtime, and Minnesota when they yanked everybody.
Oh, I'm telling you, man, it's not stellar, but
they did surprisingly get Patrick Williams back, who was supposed to be like out for all the year, almost with that. I think it was knee, not Achilles. I think it was knee. So I mean that's a big wing to come back, but I'm going to say a sweep. Martin, let's finish things with awards time here. You alluded to it earlier. Let's start with the league's 2021-2022 most valuable.
Yeah, and I do like that, on a side note, how this race is actually very close. And there was a lot of people throughout the year who were making a case to definitely be in the top 5 consideration. Obviously, L7C Suns, Devin Booker deserves consideration at the early point of Chicago because no one thought he was going to help turn that team around. DeMar DeRozan, John Morant deserve consideration.
LeBron didn't want DeMar DeRozan, by the way.
Oh, we're trying to limit that talk. We're trying to limit Laker LeBron talk, but that is true. Terrible mistake. John Morant, Giannis, of people who have, if you've been watching the Bucks, Giannis is still Giannis, but it comes down to really 2. It comes down to Jokic and Joel Embiid. Both those 2 so different playing styles. Obviously, Jokic won last year, and now Embiid, like I said earlier, first leading scorer for the league, center since Shaq. Dude, this is a flip. It's one of those where you flip it, you don't get it wrong. It's one of those.
I've had a name in my head the entire year, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I'm going with it.
But I feel like, and I don't care if whoever, because I'm going to be happy whoever wins, but I feel like you're going to be going Embiid, so I'm going to be going Jokic. I'm going Jokic.
You're exactly right. I'm going Joel Embiid.
I know you've said it all year, and I've agreed all year with you until this last stretch run where Jokic has been going. It's been wild, man.
So both centers missing players. No Ben Simmons the entire year. You know, he had some help from Seth Curry in Philadelphia. Does Joel Embiid, but rides that all out, stays healthy. I mean, just how many 40-18, 40-15 games have we seen from Joel? Not that Jokic, and the other side of the coin, you're right. It is a flip. I mean, Jokic was the MVP of the league last year, and his stats got better.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there's something to be said in itself. The league does lean towards, like if they've given you an MVP before, that like almost like you're out, like, yeah, we're tired of voting for you already. Jokic was like invisible during the All-Star game because that's kind of his play. Like it's a stars league, and I mean I think it's going to be a really, really close vote, potentially like we've never seen before. And obviously this spills over into first team All NBA considerations. Who's your best center? You're right. I mean, leading the league in scoring, Joel's first time since Shaq. Like, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. We'll see. I mean, I think probably Jokic deserves it. I want Embiid to win, and I think you got a compelling case either way.
I mean, from a personal thing, I would want Embiid to win, obviously, since he is from Cameroon, Africa, and that is, for podcast people who didn't know, that is both where my parents are from. So, from a personal thing, I would, but I just, man, you can go right either way. Can't go wrong. Which one do you want to go down to next? You want to just go from MVP to Defensive Player of the Year?
Let's go to Defensive Player of the Year.
All right. Well, I did say Mikal Bridges, but that was more for my Phoenix Sun love. But in all honesty, I'm going Marcus Smart. Boston's defense, he's been terrorizing people, and he's obviously the big catalyst for their defense and their defensive resurgence. They did not have this type of defense with like Brad Stevens as a coach. But I'm going Marcus. I'm going Marcus Smart.
Tough.
I'm tired of Rudy. Rudy ain't getting it this year.
But Rudy thinks he is getting it.
Not this time.
I mean, there's so many different metrics you can look at. Marcus Smart is very, very, very high up on my list. Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's just so many. I mean, I think Miles Bridges is up there too, along with Gobert. If Time Lord was able to play for Boston, I think he'd be in consideration too. I'm gonna go Marcus Smart as well.
Then we will go down to where we already know where you're going, and I'm gonna go the same. Rookie of the Year. Evan, why should Evan Mobley win?
So the detractors wanting to pass on Evan Mobley in favor of Scotty Barnes only looking at the offensive side of the ball. So for me, Evan Mobley is not only was he obviously the runaway, missed some games there where, Scotty obviously, did some catching up, but Evan was just nothing short of sensational on the defensive end of the floor. So he slid over to the 4 to the 5 towards the end of the season with Allen's injury. And during that time, while Allen was out at the end of the regular season, averaged 16.6 per game on 55% shooting. I believe still top 5 in contested shots. There's a reason Cleveland had such a great year when everybody counted him out. But this podcast was the 3-7-foot lineup. Just his instincts, man. I mean, like, it's just amazing. Like, I think defense still holds value. Clearly, it's shown that by the record. And I mean, I think, Scotty Barnes had a heck of a year. He closed the gap immeasurably. And obviously, I think, we have to talk about Cade Cunningham. Obviously he missed, some time in there, especially at the beginning. I think Cade had a heck of a year, and he should be in the conversation. But from Evan's perspective, I think you look at, obviously the Raptors finished with a better record than the Cavs, but I mean, they didn't have near the injuries that Cleveland did. But Cleveland's turnaround, what Mobley has meant to this team defensively, and I think he's the best of the 3 defensively. He gets the edge when we're talking about a couple points here or there. Has a rebounding edge, has the blocks edge of all rookies, leading rebounding rookie, leading block rookie. That I think, hey, he gets the nod because of his impact on the defensive end of the floor.
Oh, I have nothing to add to that. Evan Mobley all the way. Don't care what anyone else thinks. I do understand why Scotty and Cade, and now everyone wants to go Scotty, but nah, Evan Mobley for me. As you eloquently stated. Let's go down to most improved player. Evan, a lot of people want to give this to Ja Morant. I know he's improved a lot in year 3, but that just doesn't sit right with me for some. Like, what do you think?
It doesn't. I mean, I love Jaw. Jaw had a heck of a year. Jaw could arguably be, he arguably could be first team All NBA
Yeah.
guard if he had not missed the games he did. But I struggle. Most improved player to me should always be who's the guy that you were aware of who made the jump. Ja Morant had made the jump. We all well knew who Ja Morant was. We've seen the circus highlight plays, the assist game. I mean, he has been phenomenal. You know, I think Darius has to be up there in consideration.
Yep.
And Jordan Poole. Those are the two guys for me that just above all else stand out. I mean, what Darius continues to do as for long stretches, he was the only like ball handler we had left. You're starting him and Isaac Okoro, and you had Jetty with so many injuries. Rondo was hurt. Karis LeVert we traded for hurt his foot like the second day of practice. Colin Sexton, Ricky Rubio gone. And I mean, the workload this young man's put on, and what was the stat? He is, oh man, I'll have to look it up. But when you're looking up yours, or when you're giving your answer, but for me, it's between Darius and Jordan Poole. Against my better judgment, I want to see Cavs win everything. I'm going to go Jordan Poole.
I do have a question though, because I have two of them as well. But there's one person who you didn't name where I want your opinion on.
Yep.
What about Murray from San Antonio?
Sure. I think DeJounte is absolutely in consideration. You know, a potential for a triple double. He's phenomenal on San Antonio for a team that, you know, just devout of a lot of talent and everything else. He made that team better, and that's why they ended up making the play-in. But you know, for me, I think Darius. I like Darius, and I like Jordan Poole's jump offensively, scoring wise, in particular for the Warriors. I think are that impact and that jump from where they were. I mean, DeJounte was, I feel like, coming on a little bit more than Garland last year. That's why I have those two ahead. But I mean, he's definitely in contention.
So obviously I would want a Cavs player to win, and I don't want to be a homer, but I do think Garland deserves it. And I just feel like with Jordan and Dejounte Murray, especially Murray, who was basically the best player on his team, and he led the NBA in steals, and he was the only player averaging 20 plus points, 8 plus rebounds, and 9 plus assists this season. And he was second in the NBA in triple doubles. It's another one of those awards where I wouldn't be mad if I can't even say I'd be mad if Ja Morant won, because obviously he's the bigger name, but I don't think he deserves it like that. But I'm gonna go Murray for the San Antonio Spurs, slightly over Jordan Poole, because obviously Murray has to carry his team and Jordan does not. But perfect scenario, Garland wins. Garland and Mobley both bring in hardware for the Cavs and a playoff win.
Martin, I got one more guy to throw out there for you.
For six man? I mean, most improved. We're almost.
For most improved. Second year player. I'm going to give you some stats.
Okay.
Last year averaged 9 points, 3 rebounds. And listeners, we have not talked about this at all. I'm catching him off guard. Only appeared in 17 games, however, last year, but averaged 9 points a game, along with 1.7 assists. 3.1 boards. Didn't make a whole lot of jump there. In the points per game category, doubled it. 18.2 this year to go along with 2.7 assists, 4.4 rebounds. So up an assist, up a rebound, and up 9 points this year. Doubled their steals, 0.6 a game to 1.2. Martin, I've got a guy in mind. Field goal percentage wise, about the same as last year. Who is this player, and why do they deserve consideration? Any ideas?
What are they? What year are they?
Second year.
Second year.
I definitely should be top 5 finish, and will be top 5 finish.
So they were drafted in 2020?
They were drafted in 2020, yes.
Oh, man. Now I gotta.
From
Nah, if you give me the school, I'll know.
Yeah, you're right. I can't do that.
It's obvious. Isaac Okoro?
No.
I was gonna be like,
No.
he was one I thought of, but then
second year shooting guard for the Memphis Grizzlies, Desmond Bane.
Desmond Bane. Because okay. Nah, that's respectable.
18 points a game. He has been a huge part of why I think the Grizz are heading to the Western Conference Finals.
Holy shit. Okay. All right.
Let's go to six man.
Well, are you going to go Homer? You going to go Kevin Love?
Tough.
He made a decent push at the end of the year.
He did make a decent push at the end of the year. Oh man.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to change my mind here. You talked me into it. Kevin Love gets my vote. And I'm going to say the same reason why why I made the Mobley argument.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who was tied for first in the NBA in charges drawn?
Looks like it must have been Kevin Love.
Kevin Love. To go along with so Tyler Hero is the other name in contention here. Tyler really tailed off towards the end, and Kevin was huge for us. I mean, he coming in with charge after charge after charge, putting his body in the way. Came in and look at granted it was against the G League team of Milwaukee, but had like 34 points in 16 minutes on Sunday. I mean, he's very capable, and if the Cavs have any hope of winning tomorrow, he's got to have a game like that. The same Kevin Love who's chucking the ball at the other team, turning it away last year, pouting, you name it, just a locker room cancer, took on a role of six man and made it his own. He's having fun again. I am going to go Kevin Love. Martin, who are you going with?
I will go with the man who Jack Harlow has a song named, and it's going to be Tyler Hero. I just feel like he did enough at the beginning of the year. You're right, he has had his struggles, but I feel like this has been his award for some time now. If Kevin Love would have been playing like he was playing it like this at the beginning of the year, I think it would have been closer, but I'm going to go Tyler Hero.
So Tyler Hero, 20 points a game to go along with 5 boards, 4 assists on 44. Yeah, we'll give him credit. 44, 40, 86 splits of true field goal percentage of 52.5. Yeah, a great year. He's a huge reason why the Miami Heat have had the number 1 seed. And I absolutely see why he's your pick. I mean, he's definitely had a good run. I think I'm just giving obviously the homer and the defensive piece to Kevin, but I think Tyler Hero honestly deserves it. But I'm not picking him. Martin, next award.
Oh, Coach of the Year. Coach of the Year, man. Let's go. So we don't want to talk about homers. If I can't home about the Cavs, I'm going to home about the Suns. Give it to my man, Monty freaking Williams. Should have won it last year, in my opinion, but it's okay. He had times where they didn't have Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton for an extended time throughout the year, but then they improved their record from last year by 13 games. Nah, I'm giving it to Monty Williams. Not even hesitating.
Yeah, it's Monty Williams too. For whatever reason, I think they keep listing other coaches ahead of him, but JB Bickerstaff has to be number 2. Now, I mean, you would talk about just exceeding expectations. Nobody picked Cleveland.
Nope.
Vegas had Cleveland over under at 27.5. They finished with 44. Injury after injury, the buy-in, getting Kevin Love to take on the 6-man role and to be in contention for the award, his ability to motivate this young group and I don't know what level of involvement he had. I scratched the crap out of my head, Martin, when they were like, we're trading Larry Nance for Lauri Markkanen, and you're going to start 3 7-footers when the league's going small. And it worked. It worked. I did not see that coming. Monty Williams gets a nod. major props to JV, and I think Taylor Jenkins for the Grizz has to be up there too.
Yeah, he's up there too, but it's Monty's to win. And that should be unanimous. Well, not unanimous. I think JD should get
for putting up with all the crazy Kyrie stuff. He should be number 4.
Well, yeah, if we have that type of thing, maybe. But Evan, man, that is it. We've ran the hour gauntlet with the NBA news. We've caught people up on what the playoffs are going to be. We're going to be back after every round reviewing and previewing. So we are back in that busy NBA hoops season. Now the real season begins.
Tomorrow night in Cleveland. I'm looking forward to it. And I hope the Cavs advance to go on to Miami on Sunday. We'll see. Martin, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. And I'm leaving on that again Friday. Evan, for the people wanting to watch the game who won't be there like you, what time is the game?
Game starts at 7:30. And these playing games are exclusively on ESPN, so you don't have to worry about the Bally Sports saying local Ohio people. Beyond that, we'll start streaming Bally Sports so you can get your Austin Carr, John Michael coverage, and then you can also get the national broadcast too. They'll run simultaneously on the different channels. You can pick which one after because the Cavs, I hope, are going on.
Hey, with that being said, go Cavs. Go freaking Cavs. With that being said, thank you everyone for listening to the L7C podcast. NBA playoffs are here. That means you're going to be getting more of me and Evan on a consistent basis. You guys take care. Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.